Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Lit with Lennon after a long break where I had to deal with a lot of things. I put this up on my Substack if you're curious. I don't want to rehash it. Um, do we have an audience yet?
I don't think we have anyone in there yet. So
Okay. In that case, let me
you go
wash.
do what you.
Oh, we have somebody in the audience. Thomas Jerome is here. Okay. Hello,
All right.
Thomas Jerome.
Hello,
Okay.
Thomas.
Okay, so
I should,
let's talk a little bit, and then when we
okay.
get, I forgot to did I forget to do? I forget to telegram it or something, or tweet it, or
I
whatever.
tweeted out earlier, but I didn't tweet that we're live now. For some
Okay,
reason, I did not open the YouTube, so I don't know why. I
okay.
did.
Let me go to the YouTube. Like YouTube, just like actually like it incentivizes live broadcasts to be really long, so like yeah, so we need to kind of so that we start recommending, but we'll optimize the algorithm later. What am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna switch it. We were doing Saturdays. We're gonna try to do Tuesdays now at this
Yeah,
time.
because no, we were doing Sundays, and you have something. You're a little blurry though, Janet. But we were doing Sundays, but well, I don't know. But Janet has something else on Sundays nowadays.
Yeah. No, we were doing. Wait. No. All right. I don't know. I'm confused.
It doesn't matter. We were doing a different day. We're gonna
We're
start
doing
Tuesday.
it on Tuesday now. So I'm
Okay,
confused.
and if that doesn't work, we'll do it. We'll switch days until we find the optimal time for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, like Tuesdays at this time, so noontime Eastern Standard Time, which
Okay,
is
let me find the YouTube link and then telegram it.
okay. Let me you know what? Let me get into the YouTube link and see where we're at with it. See where we're at with it. Oops.
Okay, and let me tweet it out. Uh,
Does it depend on have any pro? Stop. Okay. Sorry.
okay,
Oh, we're getting a commercial at the beginning of it. So
okay.
I did a monetized it this time. It doesn't set up monetize when I do that. Yeah, I don't know why I'm so blurry because on when I'm looking on here, I don't look as blurry. And you're
Okay,
blurry too.
something wrong. Don't fret. Give it another shot. Okay, we're on Twitter, and there are 10 people watching on Twitter, so
Okay.
we could um we could let's just get started. I
Okay.
forgot even where we were.
Okay. So it's been a bit. It was September 28th.
Sorry
we
about this.
That's
Yeah,
okay. Lots of things that happened.
yep. And
We
read it
left
on my
off.
Substack if you want to know. But yeah, I don't want to talk about bad things that has happened last year.
Yeah, let's just not talk about last year. Last year is last year.
Exactly.
Um, okay, so we are in the middle of what the Friends of the People are and how they fight the Social Democrats. Um,
Um,
we're,
do we want?
we're,
Go ahead.
we're at the let us now pass to the political program of dot dot dot. And we were
What
halfway
the
through.
friends of? Okay.
Oh,
Let
I
us
can send, do you want me to send
let
you the
us
link
pass
for it?
to the 237. Okay.
And
Can you?
then we,
Okay.
we read all the way down, about halfway down, and there's
Mm-hmm.
there's a line from a poem that we stopped at. Let me see if I can find it now because I scrolled up. Okay, so the line of the poem is "Hearty thanks will be your meed from Russia's people" by N. Karyashev. And that's where we ended because we started talking about I don't know, we started talking about a whole bunch of other
I
things.
found it.
Okay.
N. Karusheva, Ruskaya Bogatstvo,
Yes.
um, Russian wealth. Okay. Oh, it is from the Sowers by Russian poet N. A. Nekrasov.
Yes. Yes. So that is where we landed. Do you want me to just start reading? I know you need to run
No,
into.
I'll start reading and then I'll take a break after that. Yeah. Okay. Here they are, these friends of the petty people's bourgeoisie, reveling in their petty bourgeois progress. One would think that even apart from an analysis of our rural economy, it is enough to observe this striking fact that in our modern economic history, namely the generally noted progress in peasant farming, parallel to the tremendous expropriation of the peasantry, to become convinced of the absurdity of picturing the peasantry as a single harmonious and homogeneous whole, to become convinced of the bourgeois character of all this progress. But the friends of the people remain deaf to all this. Having lost the good features of the old Russian social revolutionary Narodism, they cling tightly to one of its grave errors, its failure to understand the class antagonism within the peasantry. The peasantist Narodnik of the 70s, our which aptly remarks, had no idea of class antagonism within the ranks of the peasantry themselves, regarding it as confined entirely to the exploiter, Kulak, or the Miroyed, and his victims, the peasant imbued with the communistic spirit. Gleb Uspensky stood alone in his skepticism, opposing his ironical smile to the universal illusion. With his perfect knowledge of the peasantry and his extraordinary artistic talent that penetrated to the very heart of the phenomenon, he did not fail to see that individualism had become the basis of the economic relations, not only between usurer and debtor, but among the peasants at large. See his article, Casting One Mold, Ravnenia pod одно. It means um, uh, comparing one another. Ruskaya misl, Russian mind.
I do want to point out one thing in that paragraph that this is our witch is bringing up kulaks in 1894 and calling them community eaters. That's what Marywood means.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to tell this WhatsApp. Somebody like texted me is like, I'm Jinky. Don't you remember me? And he's like, I asked for your number at the drinks party last month, and I'm like, I haven't been to any parties in 6 months.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I've been to many. So in India, you have a lot of when somebody dies, like for the first year, every month you have kind of a funeral ritual. And it's just not my uncle. I've been to many funeral rituals so far, but no parties.
No.
I don't know why. I thought that was funny.
It is funny. But like it's just funny that in 1894 the kulaks were already being called community eaters.
Yeah, there's actually a good book I'm reading in Russian about the history of the kulak, and basically what the kulaks did is when you are a slave and you have like nothing, not even the clothes on your back, in order to develop your quote unquote allotment land, you need a cow or a horse or instruments, and then they'd basically like push them into debt slavery, and then eventually literal slavery with corvée labor. And kulak literally means fist, as in they're squeezing the juice out of the peasant.
Yeah. All right. You want me to start reading now?
Sorry. I'm getting very distracted about this random spam message I've got.
Esha gets distracted by
yeah, it's like
it's all right. Do you want me to start reading?
No. I can do it. I can handle it. Sorry. Okay. I will not get distracted by random spam messages about me going to parties.
Don't make me have to make you turn your messaging off or something.
Oh, yeah. It was pardonable and even natural to succumb to this illusion in the 60s and the 70s, when relatively accurate information about rural economy was so scarce, and when the differentiation of the peasantry had not yet become so marked. But today, one must deliberately close one's eyes not to see this differentiation. It is extremely characteristic that it is precisely of late, when the ruin of the peasantry seems to have reached okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Reached. I'm going to mute my WhatsApp now. Sorry. I checked your number. It's so correct. What's your name?
I wouldn't answer him. I would just block
What
him.
should I say?
Just block him.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. I just blocked it.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know why random spam WhatsApps. Okay. You know why it distracts me. Okay. Sorry.
I know why everything distracts you. It's
Okay.
called ADHD.
Okay.
I know it well.
It's extremely characteristic, and it is precisely late, when the ruin of the peasantry seems to have reached its peak, that one hears so much on all sides about the progressive trends in peasant farming. Mr. Vivi, a most indubitable friend of the people, has written a whole book on this subject, and you cannot accuse him of factual inaccuracy. On the contrary, the technical agronomical progress of the peasantry is undoubted fact, but so is the fact of the wholesale expropriation of the peasantry. And there you are, the friends of the people concentrate all their attention on the fact that the mujik is feverishly searching for new methods of cultivation to help him fertilize the soil that feeds him, losing sight of the reverse side of the medal, namely the feverish separation of the very mujik from the soil. They bury their heads in the sand like ostriches as to avoid looking facts in the face, so as to not notice that they are witnessing the process of the transformation into capital of the land from which the peasant is being separated, the process of creation of a home market. The reason the search for the new methods of cultivation is becoming feverish is that the enterprising mujik has to run a larger farm and cannot cope with the old methods, that he is compelled by competition to seek new methods, inasmuch as agriculture is increasingly acquiring a commodity of the bourgeoisie character. So yeah, so some like rural people will get who have more land will want to have like tractors and improved fertilizers, but the majority of them can't even feed themselves on their land, so they're abandoning their land. And when their land gets abandoned, guess who swoops in and takes it? Try to disprove the existence ostriches. Okay. Try to disprove the existence of these two opposite processes among our community peasantry. Try to explain them in any try to explain them in any other way than by the bourgeoisie character of our society. That would be too much. Chanting hallelujahs and effusing humanitarian and benevolent phrases are the alpha and omega of their science and of their whole political activity. Lenin is like 100 years ahead of memes.
He really is.
He used mayo as an insult, like
Yeah.
probably one of the first people who used mayo as an insult. Now he's using alpha and omega.
Mm-hmm.
More than 100 years ahead of. He's almost. If it's this is written in 1890. Okay, 130 years ahead of his memes.
Yep. He is.
Yeah, they even elevate this modest liberal patching up of the present order to a regular philosophy. Minor, genuine activity, says Mr. Krevenko, with the air of profundity, is much better than major inactivity. How new and clever! Moreover, he goes on to say, minor activity is by no means synonymous with minor purpose. And as example of such extension of activity, when minor performances become proper and good. He quotes the work of a certain lady in organizing schools, lawyers' activities among the peasants, eliminating pettifoggers, lawyers' plan to accompany circuit courts into provinces to act as defendants' counsel. And lastly, what have already heard about the organization of handicraftsmen's warehouses? In this case, the extension of activity to the dimensions of great purpose is to consist in opening warehouses by combined efforts of the zemstvos in the busiest centers. 2 comments.
Were the
Oh,
women? Okay, go ahead.
Circuit courts back then in Russia were literally circuit courts, as in judges would like take a horse and
Yeah.
go around the gubernia.
Yeah. No, I was thinking like, was he talking about like, are they almost like the white saviors that we get, like the people that go to Appalachia and they're like, this is what we're gonna do, and the Appalachians are like,
exactly that. The Narodniks were even worse. They would dress up in peasant garb. So imagine somebody from Manhattan going to Texas with like a cap and be like, yo, peasant? Yeah.
How
one of you guys.
exactly.
Yeah. All this, of course, is very lofty and humane and liberal. Liberal because it will free the bourgeoisie economic system from all its medieval handicaps and thus make it easier for the worker to fight the system itself, which, of course, will be strengthened rather than hurt by such measures. We have long been reading about all this in Russian liberal publications. It would not be worth opposing if the Ruskaya Bogatstva gentlemen did not compel us to do so. They began advancing these modest beginnings of liberalism. Advancing these modest beginnings of liberalism against the Social Democrats, and as a lesson to them, simultaneously rebuking them for renouncing the ideals of their fathers. So the ideals of their fathers were basically, hey, let me have lots of slaves, and I mean, like, that's basically it. So, and it should be rebuked. Okay.
So it's the Gusanos basically that we get here, and now we have the Venezuelans doing it.
Oh yeah. Oh God. I've just finished my article. I'm just doing visual aids, and Janet helped me with the visual aid about the Maduro indictment. It's you guys can see the Twitter thread later, but I will write my article and link. I mean, I'm almost publishing it. I'm just trying to explain to people what thousands of tons of cocaine is.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically enough for every man, woman, and child to hit 3 doses.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did you mute your WhatsApp?
I muted my WhatsApp.
I don't know if I'm buying that. You have another app open. That's what's happening.
No, I don't. I have alerts open and I don't know how to get rid of. Okay, I got it. No app. Okay. What am I reading?
We're at
liberal.
Yeah.
That being the very case, we cannot help saying it is at the very least, amusing to oppose the Social Democrats with proposals and suggestions for such moderate, meticulous liberal, that is, bourgeoisie serving activity. As for the fathers and their ideals, it should be said that however erroneous and utopian the old theories of the Narodniks were, all events they were absolutely opposed to such modest beginnings of liberalism. I have borrowed from the latter expression from Mr. N.K. Mikhailovsky's article about the Russian edition of Karl Marx's book Отечественные записки, which means Fatherland Notes, 1872, an article written in a very lively, brisk style compared to his present writings, and strongly protesting against the proposal not to offend our young liberals. But that was long ago, 20 years ago. So long ago that the Friends of People have managed to forget all about it and have glaringly demonstrated by their tactics that when there is no materialist criticism of political institutions, and when the class character of the modern state is not understood, It is only one step from political radicalism to political opportunism. That is basically true today too.
Yeah.
When you don't understand the class character of each state, and then you're like, dictatorship. It's a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here are a few examples of this opportunism. The transformation of the Ministry of State and State Properties into the Ministry of Agriculture, declares Mr. Yuzhakov, may profoundly influence the course of economic development, but it may also prove to be nothing but a reshuffling of officials. So it's kind of like how the Department of Defense was transformed to the Department of War. What happened after that? Nothing.
Things go boom. No. In Venezuela.
Exactly. I mean, nothing changed.
No,
I actually prefer Trump's change to Department of War because it's direct, and I know.
Anytime someone complains about the changing of war, I was like, it actually makes more sense.
It's actually direct and tells the people what really is going on.
Or it could be the Department of Offense. I thought that would be a good one.
Oh no, Department of War is way better. Offense is sounds like a football term. War does not.
Okay, all right.
Everything depends consequently on who will be called upon. The friends of the people or representatives of the interests of the landlords and the capitalists. The interests themselves need not be touched. The protection of the economically weak from the economically strong is the first natural task of state interference in a dictatorship of the proletariat, but not in a czarist monarchy. But I'm repeating myself because that's like a kingarchy. I don't know. Continues the same Mr. Yuzhakov in the same article. He is supported in the same terms by the chronicler of the Home Affairs in Russkaya Bogatstvo No. 2. And so as to leave no doubt that his interpretation of all this philanthropic nonsense, it is nonsense because the strength of the economically strong lies, among other things, with his possession of political power. Without it, he could not maintain his economic role. Lenin, he's right, is the same as that of his worthy associates, the Western European liberal and radical petty bourgeoisie ideologists. He once adds, Gladstone's land bills, the Gladstone land bills, the land laws adopted by Britain by Gladstone's liberal ministry in 1870s and 1880s, with a view to mitigate the struggle between the tenant farmer and the landlords and to secure the votes of the former. The Gladstone government introduced some minor measures limiting the tyranny of the landlords who had driven masses of tenants off the land. The government also promised to regulate the question of tenant arrears, to set up special land courts that would establish fair rents. The Gladstone land bills were typical of the social demagogy of the liberal bourgeoisie. Yeah, basically, and then in England, they didn't really want people in the land because they wanted them in the factories because they had India. This at least has the merit of being frank. The author bluntly states that, like the Gladstones and the Bismarcks, he wants to adhere to the present social relations. Like them, he wants to patch up as literally, like sewing terminology, present day society. Bourgeoisie society is something he does not understand any more than the Western European followers of the Gladstones and Bismarcks do, and not combat it. But the thing is that England had a crap load of colonies, so like they could extract wealth and kind of elevate the poor people's status of a little more. And Russia does not have like that crap load of colonies, so basically Russian poor would be like miserable.
Yeah, they didn't have the privilege of colonialism.
Okay, so Janet, can you continue reading, and I'm going to take like a 5 to 10 minute break.
Okay.
In the complete harmony.
Okay. No, I don't remember where we were. Sorry. I'm just gonna start it at the beginning of that paragraph. Sorry. This at least has the merit of being frank. The author bluntly states that, like the Gladstones and Bismarcks, he wants to adhere to the present social relations. Like them, he wants to catch up in darn present day society, bourgeois society, something he does not understand any more than the Western European followers of the Gladstones and Bismarcks do, and not combat it. In complete harmony with this, their fundamental theoretical tenet is the fact that they regard as an instrument of reform an organ which has its basis in the present day society and protects the interests of its ruling classes, the state. They positively believe the state to be omnipotent and above all classes, and expect that it will not only assist the working people, but create a real and proper system that we have heard from Mr. Kravchenko. But then, of course, nothing else is to be expected of them. Dyed in the wool, petty bourgeois ideologists that they are. For it is one of the fundamental and characteristic features of the petty bourgeois, one incidentally which makes it a reactionary class, that the petty producers, disunited and isolated by the very conditions of production and tied down to a definite place and to a definite exploiter, cannot understand the class character of the exploitation and oppression from which they suffer, and suffer sometimes no less than the proletarian. They cannot understand that in bourgeois society, the state too is bound to be a class state. And I'm going to read the footnote. That is why the Friends of the People are arch reactionaries when they say that it is the state's natural task to protect the economically weak. That is what it should be according to their banal old wives' morality, whereas Russia's entire history and home policy testify that the task of our state is to protect only the feudal landlords and the big bourgeoisie, and to punish with the utmost brutality every attempt of the economically weak to stand up for their rights. Same thing was happening here because, it's in our Constitution, the corporations are protected against the people. So private property is protected. So, and that, of course, is its natural task because absolutism and the bureaucracy are thoroughly saturated with the feudal bourgeois spirit. And because in the economic sphere, the bourgeoisie hold undivided sway and keep the workers as quiet as lambs. And that was written by Lenin. Okay, so why is it then, most worthy friends of the people, that till now, and with particular energy since this very emancipatory reform our government has supported, protected, and created, only the bourgeoisie and capitalism? Why is it that such unseemly conduct on the part of this absolute, allegedly supraclass government has coincided precisely with the historical period characterized in the country's internal life by the development of commodity economy, commerce, and industry? Why do you consider these latter changes in internal life to be the effect and the government's policy the cause, despite the fact that these changes were so deep down in society that the government did not even notice them and put innumerable obstacles in their way? And despite the fact that this very same absolute government, under the conditions of internal life, supported, protected, and created another class. Oh, the friends of the people never concern themselves with such questions. All this, you see, is materialism, dialectics, Hegelianism, I don't know how you say that, mysticism, and metaphysics. They simply think that if you plead with this government nicely enough and humbly enough, it will put everything right. And as far as humbleness is concerned, one must do Ruskayev Bogatstvo justice. Truly, it stands out even among the Russian liberal press for its inability to display the slightest independence. Judge for yourselves. And this is a quote from okay from you could Yusakov. That's the same, right? Yusakov. Okay. So the abolition of the salt tax, the abolition of the poll tax, and the reduction of the land redemption payments are described by Mr. Yusakov as a considerable relief to people's farming. Well, of course, but was not the abolition of the salt tax accompanied by the imposition of a host of new indirect taxes and an increase in the old ones? I'll finish this paragraph. Was not the abolition of the poll tax accompanied by an increase in the payments made by the former state peasants, under guise of placing them on a redemption basis? And is there not even now, after the famous reduction of redemption payments, by which the government did not even return to the peasants the profit it had made out of the redemption operations, a discrepancy between the payments and the income from the land, i.e., a direct survival of feudal quit rent? Never mind. What is important, you see, is the first step, the principle. As for the rest we can plead for later on. Have you found where we are?
Continue reading.
Okay. These, however, are only the blossoms. Now for the fruit. The 80s eased the people's burden. That's by the above measures, and thus saved them from utter ruin. That was all a quote. That was not Lenin saying that. This is another phrase classic for its shameless servility, one that can only be placed, say, alongside Mr. Mikhailovsky's statement quoted above. And we have still to create a proletariat. One cannot help recalling in this connection Schreiden's
it's okay. So okay, whenever in Russian, when they're translating as okay, there's two shs. There's a sh, the sh. This is just a. I think this is the non-retroflex sh, so it's Shedrin.
Shedrin. Okay,
I'll figure out what that is. Continue to read.
Okay, in this connection, Shedrin's incisive description of the evolution of a Russian liberal. This liberal starts out by pleading with the authorities to grant reforms as far as possible. Then he goes on to beg for, well, at least something, and ends by taking up an internal and unshakable stand on anything, however mean. And what else can one say about
Shedrin was the major satirist of the 19th century. And so he wrote Historia одного города, History of a Town, Ubezhice Manrepa, as in, and Господа Goloviev, as in the Goloviev leaders, and Savremenная Idylia, Modern Idol. Okay, I'll figure out which one he's talking about, the liberal. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And what else can one say of the Friends of the People, but that they have adopted this eternal and unshakable stand when, fresh from the impressions of a famine affecting millions of people, towards which the government's attitude was first one of the huckster's stinginess and then of a huckster's cowardice, they say in print that the government has saved the people from utter ruin. Several years more will pass, marked by the still more rapid expropriation of the peasantry. The government, in addition to establishing a Ministry of Agriculture, will abolish one or two direct and impose several new indirect taxes. The famine will then affect 40 million people, and these gentlemen will write in the same old way. You see, 40 and not 50 million are starving. That is because the government has eased the people's burden and has saved them from utter ruin. it is because the government has hearkened to the Friends of the People and established a Ministry of Agriculture. Well, funny enough, right, that after the famines in the 30s, didn't the USSR eliminate famines?
Yeah. There
Yeah.
hasn't been a famine in Russia since 1932.
Yep. And, these just kept going in a cycle. 150 in 1,000 years.
No. Basically, every 10 years in Tsarist Russia, there was a famine. And
Yeah.
every year, about 200,000 peasants died from starvation.
Yeah.
But there's one in 1890. There's soon going to be one in 1895 that Lenin writes
Yeah.
a really hilarious piece about. But yeah, and that's because when you have feudalism and each person has their cut of land, they don't have an incentive to there's no incentive to produce more crops by basically collectivizing the land. And I mean, in feudalism, it is kind of collective, but because of that, they just didn't grow enough food.
Yeah.
But for the landlords, it didn't matter if they grew enough food or not, because they're not eating the food; they were trading the food.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So another example in Ruskayev Bogatstvo, number 2, the chronicler of home affairs, arguing that Russia is fortunately a backward country, which has preserved elements that enable her to base her economic system on the principle of solidarity. And then I'll go down to the what do you call that? Footnote. Between whom the landlord and the peasant, the enterprising music and the tramp, the mill owner and the worker. To understand what the classical principle of solidarity means, we must remember that solidarity between the employer and the workman is achieved by a reduction in wages. Where? That was Lenin. Okay, where are we now? Okay. So says that so the base of economic system on the principle of solidarity says that she is therefore able to act in international affairs as an exponent of economic solidarity, and that Russia's chances for this are enhanced by her undeniable political might. What is that word, might? It is the gendarme of Europe that constant and most reliable bulwark of all reaction, who has reduced the Russian people, themselves oppressed at home, to the shameful position of serving as an instrument for oppressing the peoples in the West. It is this gendarme who is described as the exponent of economic solidarity. This is indeed beyond all limit. Messieurs, the Friends of the People will outdo all liberals. They not only plead with the government, they not only eulogize it, they positively pray to it. Pray with such obeisance, I don't know how to say
Okay,
that. With such zeal that a stranger cannot help fleeing airy at the sound of their loyal foreheads cracking on the flagstones.
Okay, so I'll try to read the German. Was ist der Philister? Ein Holler Darm? Voll Furcht und Hoffnung, dass Gott erbarm. Okay, and that means, what is the Philistine? A hollow gut full of fear and of hope in God's mercy. Goat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this definition does not quite apply to our affairs. God takes a back seat with us, but the authority doesn't matter. And if in this definition we substitute the word authorities for the word God, we shall get the exact description of the ideological stock in trade, the moral level, and civic courage of the Russian humane and liberal Friends of the People.
To this absolutely preposterous view of the government, the Friends of the People add a corresponding attitude towards the so-called intelligentsia. Mr. Kevin writes, Literature should appraise phenomenon according to their social meaning and encourage every active effort to do good. It has harped and continues to harp on the shortage of teachers, doctors, technicians, on the fact that the people are sick, poor, there are a few technicians, illiterate, etc. And when people come forward who are weary of sitting at the card tables, participating in private theatricals, and eating sturgeon patties at parties given by the marshals of the nobility, and who go out to work with rare self sacrifice and in the face of numerous obstacles. So, this is basically the liberals pretending that. They're not yeah, we actually gave up eating fancy fish with the highest of nobles to help you, the people. Think of it, they have sacrificed card tables, theatricals, and okay, and like caviar or sturgeon, like sturgeon
Not
is
the
fancy.
patties. They sacrifice patties.
Not patty. I don't like that translation. So sturgeon. Okay, it means sturgeon patties, but peasants did not even like. You're not getting imported fancy fish or North Atlantic fancy fish if you're a pet. Literature should welcome them. 2 pages later, with the business-like air of an old campaigner grown wise by experience, he reproves those who wavered when confronted with the question whether or not to accept office as Zemsky Nachalniks. Zemsky means land, Nachalnik means leader. In 1889, the Tsarist government, desirous of strengthening the landlord's power of the peasants, introduced the administrative post of Zemsky Nachalnik, which means land leader. Zemsky Nachalniks, who were appointed from among the local landlord nobility, were given tremendous powers to both administrative and judicial to deal with the peasants. These powers included the right to arrest peasants and administer corporal punishment, as in beating them up. Town mayors or chairmen or members of the Zemstvo boards under the new regulations. In a society with a developed conscience of civic requirements and duties. Really, gentlemen, this is as good as the speeches of the famous Russian Laxin office like the Baranovs and the Kosichas. You read on and I'll figure out who the Baranovs and the Kosichas are.
Okay, hold on. Such wavering in such an attitude to affairs would be inconceivable because it would assimilate in its own way every reform and had any vital side to it at all. That is, would take advantage of and develop those sides of the reform that are expedient. As to the undesirable sides, it would convert them into a dead letter. And if there were nothing whatever vital in the reform, it would remain an entirely alien body. What on earth do you make of that? What miserable two-penny halfpenny opportunism, what indulgence in self-admiration. The task of literature is to collect all the drawing room gossip about the wicked Marxists, to bow and cringe to the government for saving the people from utter ruin, to welcome people who have grown weary of sitting at the card tables, to teach the public not to fight shy even of such posts as the Zemsky Nachalnik.
Nachalnik, leader. Nachalnik means leader.
Nachalnik, yeah. What is this I am reading? Nedelia. All right, so here's a footnote. Nedelia means week, like week as in a week of time.
No. Let me tell you. Nedelia.
Nedelia? Okay.
Nedelia. It's kind of funny. It literally, yeah. It's really funny. Because in Ukrainian it actually means weekend, and diela means to do. Nedelia literally means nothing to do. But in Russian, that actually transformed to meaning just week.
Okay.
As in 7 days.
A liberal Narodnik political and literary newspaper appeared in St. Petersburg from 1866 to 1901, was opposed to fighting the autocracy and advocated for so-called theory of minor matters, i.e., appeal to the intelligentsia to abstain from revolutionary struggle and to engage in cultural activity.
Yeah, when there's like 88% illiteracy, yeah, liberals should be writing fiction books or I don't know, making plays. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or did you hear that they're putting out a movie? It's like Robin Hood was never the hero. He was like this. He was just this murderous guy.
No, we actually did an episode about the history of Robin Hood. So Robin Hood is kind of like John Doe. And there are records that he did steal from the rich and give to the poor, but a lot of him, we actually did an episode way back when about the history of Robin Hood. And so if they didn't know the name of like a criminal, the British would write Robin Hood. And it basically, there was one guy in Nottingham. Well, there was one, now they theorize that there was a group of like revolutionaries in Nottingham who would do these sabotage activities.
Yeah. No. So the movie is making him like he's evil. He's bad. He just went around murdering people and stuff like that.
He didn't murder that many people.
No, that's what the movie. But it's Hugh Jackman's in the movie. It's just coming out.
Okay, now you're making me like Russell Crowe because Russell Crowe played Robin Hood in the Robin Hood movie. Oh God, yeah. I used to think Hugh Jackman was good looking, but suddenly he's not so good looking anymore.
No. Yeah, no, I just saw that this morning. It just started.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Why would he want to pick such a counter-revolutionary? Ew. Okay.
I don't know. It sounds horrible, but
it does.
No, it is Russkaya
Bogatstva means Russian wealth.
The organ of the advanced Russian Democrats. Mm-hmm. Russian wealth, the Democrats. And such gentlemen talk about the ideals of their fathers, claim that they and they alone guard the traditions of the days when France poured the ideas of socialism all over Europe.
This refers to the French utopian socialism, which was widespread at the beginning of the 19th century and was one of the main ideological trends of the time. Lenin mocks this. I forgot the name of that guy, the utopian French socialist. Like when Lenin mocks him plenty. It's not Bernsteinism. It's before Bernsteinism.
Yeah, I know what it is. Let me look it up and you keep reading.
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, I'll continue to read. And when in Russia, the assimilation of these ideas produced the theories of Herzen and Chernyshev. This is a downright disgrace and would be positively outrageous and offensive if Russkaya Bogatstva were not so utterly amusing. If such statements in the columns of a magazine of this type did not arouse Homeric laughter and nothing else, yes, indeed, you are besmirching those ideals. What were actually the ideals of the first Russian socialists, the socialists of the epoch, which Kautsky so aptly described in words. This is one of the few times he is not insulting Kautsky. Remember that? Okay.
Yeah. Is he talking about, I'm sorry, Leon Blum?
Yes, that's him.
Yeah, that's what I was, okay.
Okay. When every socialist was a poet and every poet was a socialist. Okay, this is a few times we have to remember he's not insulting Kautsky, because then like there's like a period of 10 years where he writes nothing but insults about Kautsky.
Yeah.
Oh, Derek asked, are we socialists or communists? Can you pull? Yes, we are. Can you pull that up?
Where are we?
Yes, we all are.
Yes. Yep.
And if you know about economics, how the world works, imperialism, the IMF, and you're not a horrible person, you too will be a socialist or a communist. The more you learn about the world, the more angry you get about the injustices, and you know it's on purpose and it's not the state of nature that the liberal economists try to make it seem like. You're going to get really angry.
Yes.
Okay. Faith in you're looking something up, right? Or did you already look that up?
We looked up Leon Blum. Yeah.
Okay. Faith in a special social order in the communal system of Russian life, hence faith in the possibility of a peasant socialist revolution. That is what inspired them and doused dozens and hundreds of people to wage a heroic struggle against the government. He's talking about the Narodniks. Yeah. So they ended up, they were kind of creepy, and they thought that Russia shouldn't develop capitalism, not capitalism, industrialization, and you can just like have these la peasant communes, and then they would creep out peasants by wearing peasant garb and being hello fellow peasant. And then they assassinated Tsar Alexander the Second, and they were all killed, and including Lenin's brother, who was a Narodnik. And Lenin looked at their philosophy. He admired their end goal, but he thought they were extremely dumb in their approach.
Yeah.
And you cannot reproach the Social Democrats with failing to appreciate these immense historical services of the finest people of their day, with the failing to respect their memory profoundly. For him, this is personal because his brother Alexander was hanged for being in the plot too. Yeah. But I ask you, where is that faith now? It has vanished so utterly that when Mr. Vivi tried to argue last year that the village community trains people to common effort and is the center of altruistic sentiments, etc., even Mr. Mikhailovsky's conscience was pricked, and he shamefacedly began to lecture Mr. Vivi to the point out that no investigation has shown a connection between our village community and altruism. So the village community is that there was certain land that the peasants got like little squares, but then they also had some communal land, which was also crappy, shitty land that they were supposed to allegedly cultivate together and then pay the debt together. But that crappy, shitty land didn't really give them enough to feed everyone who was bound to that crappy, shitty communal land.
Did we ever figure out who Mr. Vivi is?
Postnikov.
Oh, okay. All right. I couldn't remember. You're at, and indeed, no, the last line in that paragraph or last.
And indeed, no investigation has. Yet there was a time when people had faith, implicit faith, without making investigations. How? Why? On what grounds? Now he's actually mocking Kautsky. I take that back. Every socialist was a poet, and every poet was a socialist. Okay, yeah, he's definitely okay. He's always mocks Kautsky. Okay. Moreover, adds the same Mr. Mikhailovsky, all conscientious investigators agree that the countryside is splitting up, giving rise on the one hand to a mass of proletarians and the other to a handful of kulaks who keep the rest of the population under their heel. There's actually a really nice Soviet cartoon about Soviet poster about this, but if you continue to read, I'll pull that up. All right. If you continue to read, I'll put the kulaks keeping the rest of that poster. Okay.
And again, he is right. The countryside is indeed splitting up. Nay, more. The countryside long ago split up completely. And the old Russian peasant socialism split up with it, making way for workers' socialism on the one hand, and degenerating into vulgar, petty bourgeois radicalism on the other. This change cannot be described as anything but degeneration. From the doctrine that peasant life is a special social order and that our country has taken an exceptional path of development, there has emerged a sort of diluted eclecticism, which can no longer deny the commodity economy has become the basis of economic development and has grown into capitalism, but which refuses to see the bourgeois character of all the relations of production, refuses to see the necessity of the class struggle under this system. From a political program calculated to arouse the peasantry for the socialist revolution against the foundations of modern society, so this is going to be a line from someone, that substantially was what all the other revolutionary programs amounted to, from those, say, the Bakuninists, the anarchists, and the rebels, to those of the Narodniks. And finally, the Narodbolstis, or whatever. Okay. Okay. There has emerged a program calculated to patch up to improve the conditions of the peasantry while preserving the foundations of modern society. Strictly,
Hold on. I can't find that special poster, but I found a really cool Soviet poster talking about the dangers of wearing high heels for a long time. But continue.
strictly
Go ahead.
speaking, all this should already suffice to give an idea of the kind of criticism to be expected from these gentlemen of the Russkaya Bogatstvo when they undertake to demolish the Social Democrats. They do not make the slightest attempt to give a straightforward and there's words I can't read when I'm looking at them, exposition of the Social Democrats' conception of Russian realities. They could quite well do so and get around the censorship if they laid special stress on the economic side and kept to the general, partly allegorical terms in which they have conducted all their polemics. And just remember, Social Democrats at the time is Lenin's party. They are the communists, right?
Yeah, I mean, logically, they wanted social reforms, as in like no more slavery, and they want democratic reforms. So that's why they were called the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party.
Yes.
And then the word social democrat became poison later, to mean AOC.
Yeah. And to argue against its substance, to argue against the correctness of the practical conclusions drawn from it. They prefer instead to confine themselves to the most vicious phrases about abstract schemes and believe in them. About the conviction that every country has to pass through the phase and similar nonsense with which we have already become sufficiently familiar in the case of Mr. Mikolowski.
So basically, they thought that until Russia gets industrialized and has a long, big bourgeoisie population, there can be no revolution. And Lenin then later in imperialism says, hey, third world countries are never getting industrialized. We can't wait for that. And so that's the every phase. The Mensheviks also believed that if you we have to wait for Russia to get industrialized, and then if and when we can then have a revolution, because then we'll have a big proletarian population. And third world countries are never getting industrialized because that's the point of being a third world country in the imperial scheme.
Yeah, and that's somewhat the reason why China did what China did in their.
Okay, Yipper said, when did this start? It started at 10:30 India time. I don't know. Can somebody translate that for me?
Well, it was like 5 past noon.
YouTube has gone really annoying with their notifications, but I'll make sure that we put it. We re-upload these videos properly so you guys can watch it at your leisure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going. It'll be up when we're done. It'll be.
Oh, it will?
Yeah. I have it streaming there, so it'll.
Okay,
come right after.
It'll automatically. Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so you can watch it from the beginning and stuff.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Continue. I will stop looking for. I forgot where I was.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot too. They argue against the substance to argue against the correctness of the practical conclusions.
Polemics to argue. Yeah, that's where they prefer instead to confine themselves to the most vacuous phases about abstract screams and belief in them, about and similar nonsense, which we have already become sufficiently familiar in the case of Mr. Mikolowski. Often we get downright distortions. Mr. Kravchenko, for example, declares that Marx admitted that if we desire it, so according to Marx, the evolution of social and economic relations depends on human will and consciousness. And what is this? Abysmal ignorance or unparalleled effrontery. Like Marx literally argued the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Oh, okay. So Trump distracted me with my Chomsky polemics, um, but yeah. So I had to write. I had to write an article about Venezuela because Trump invaded this, and
Yeah.
so yeah. But yeah, Chomsky like literally has the same idiotic ideas about Marx. He's like Marx, not okay. I lost my ability to do vocal fry, so I can't do Chomsky voices anymore. Before I used to do really good Chomsky voices. Okay, we'll continue to read and I'll figure out how to do his voice again.
What is this abysmal ignorance or unparalleled effrontery? And acted accordingly, we could avoid the vicissitudes of capitalism. What is that word? I know what it means, but vicissitudes of
Like
capitalism.
remnants.
Yeah, yeah. And proceed by a different and more expedient path. There's words that like I never like read out loud before too that trip me up. Like I know what it is, but I like look at it and I'm like, I don't know how to say that.
I mean, you don't have to go to capitalism, but you do have to go through industrialization.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I was saying. Like that was like that's why I trust what China's doing because they're like going, they're doing what they're doing to industrialize, and then they have their plan.
Oh,
So.
they've left for yeah. Basically, think of it as Stalin's 5-year plan, but Deng's 50-year plan. And they've already caught up. Okay, so the Belt and Road Initiative is really helping. No matter, like even the State Department's admitted that the Belt and Road Initiative actually helps. It's like like I know we're calling it colonialism, but it basically it's done at the request of the African countries, and I'm like, so they're doing projects that's the opposite of colonialism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see if we can restore that timer again on YouTube.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out for next week. Sorry about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are you done?
Not yet. One more complaint. Some idiot was like, "Oh yeah, what China's colonialism, like what China is doing in Africa, is worse than European colonialism." I'm like, okay, let me count all the hands of the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it seems they all have 2 hands. And under European colonialism, that was not the case. But let's continue.
It's ridiculous. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, our knight was able to talk such nonsense by indulging in deliberate distortion, citing the passage from the well-known K. Marx's letter, where Marx speaks of his high esteem for Chernyshevsky. Can you say that word? That name?
Hold on.
Chernyshevsky.
Chernyshevsky.
Okay. Who thought it possible for Russia not to undergo the tortures of the capitalist system. Mr. Kravchenko closes the quotation marks, i.e., ends the reproduction of what Marx actually said, the last words of which were he Chernyshevsky pronounces in favor of this latter solution and adds, "And I," says Marx, share Kravchenko's italics, "these views." What Marx actually said was this: "And my honorable critique would have had at least as much reason for inferring from my esteem for this great Russian scholar and critique that I shared his views on the question, as for concluding from my polemic against the Russian literary man and pan-Slavist that I rejected them." So that's what he really said. And so Marx said that Mr. Mikhailovsky,
Just pronounce the K like an H and you'll get it.
Mikhailovsky. Okay.
No, skip the K and just pronounce the H and you'll get
it. And not so Mikhail, that's what you're saying. Like, don't do the hard K on it. Mikhailovsky. Mikhailovsky.
Mikhailovsky. Yeah.
Mikhailovsky. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Had no right to regard him as an opponent of the idea of Russian special line of development because he also respected those who held this idea. But Mr. Kravchenko misconstrues this to mean that Marx admitted this special line of development. This is an out and out distortion. Marx's statement quoted above shows quite clearly that he evaded the question as such. Mr. Mihail
Just skip the K.
Mikhailovsky. Was that good?
Yeah.
Could have taken as a basis either of the two contradictory remarks, i.e., he has no grounds for basing his conclusions as to my views on Russian affairs in general on either of them. And in order that these remarks should provide no occasion for misrepresentation, Marx, in this very same letter, gave a direct reply to the question on how his theory could be applied to Russia. This reply very clearly shows that Marx avoided answering the question as such, avoided examining Russian data, which alone could decide the question. If Russia, he replied, is tending to become a capitalist nation on the pattern of the Western European countries, and during the last years, she has been taking much trouble in this respect, she will not succeed without having first transformed a good part of her peasants into proletarians.
I'll read a footnote.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Good thing is that some idiot has copyrighted all of Marx and Engels' collected works in English, but it's available in Russian, so I can read that letter for next time.
Okay.
Okay. So well, yeah. I mean, but yes, because the cities tend to basically when the factory needs more and more people, the countryside tends to empty out, and people tend to squeeze into cities. But like I said, you didn't need the countryside when you had all of Africa and India to be your countryside. So that's the main difference of what Western Europe could do back then versus what Russia can't do.
Yeah.
This, I think, is perfectly clear. The question whether Russia was tending to become a capitalist nation, whether the ruin of her peasants was the process of the creation of a capitalist system and of a capitalist proletariat. And Marx says that if she was so tending, she would have to transform a good part of her peasants into proletarians. In other words, Marx's theory is to investigate and explain the evolution of the economic system of certain countries, and its application to Russia can be only the investigation of Russian production relations and their evolution, employing the established practices of the materialist method and the theoretical political economy. I repeat that this conclusion could not but be clear to anybody who had read the Communist Manifesto, The Poverty of Philosophy and Capital, and that a special explanation was required only for the benefit of Mr. Mikhailovsky. Okay, I love his.
He's so petty. He's not petty bourgeois. He's just petty.
Yipper, can you bring up Yipper's comment, and I will do the research. No, you can't copy other people's translations, but you can copyright your translation of their work. And unfortunately, this is the most annoying thing. Gramsci's best English translation is done by Pete Buttigieg's dad, and his dad is dead. So guess who's getting the royalties? Yeah.
I didn't know that Kamala's father was Bukharin.
Jamaican. He's a Marxist too. He's from Jamaica.
He was Marxist, but he liked Bukharin.
Yeah. No wonder she turned out so shitty.
I've been reading Bukharin lately. I'm forced to read it actually.
Why?
Why? The one that started Collective, he likes Bukharin, so he reads Bukharin, so he has me read it, and then he does audios for Bukharin, so I do that.
Ugh. Okay.
I don't mind Bukharin. I think
He's
it's.
not funny. He's boring.
I know, but it's straightforward, and it helped me. Like I read the ABC of communism, and that helped me big time with some stuff.
Okay. Bukharin's kind of an anarchist.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I know the issues with them, but
Okay. The elaboration of a new theory of methodology and political economy marked such gigantic progress in social science and such a tremendous advance of socialism that almost immediately after the appearance of capital, the destiny of capitalism in Russia became the principal theoretical problem for Russian socialists. The most heated debates raged around this problem, and the most important points of program were decided in accordance with it. And it is noteworthy that when, some 10 years ago, a separate group of socialists appeared who answered in the affirmative, the question was whether Russia's evolution was capitalist. And based on this answer on the data of Russian economic reality, it encountered no direct and definite criticism of the point at issue. No criticism which accepted the same general methodological and theoretical principles and gave a different explanation of the data. The friends of the people, who have launched a veritable crusade against Marxists, likewise do not argue their case by examining the facts. As we saw in the first article, they dispose of the matter with phrases. Mr. Mikhailovsky, moreover, never misses an opportunity to display his wit about Marxists lacking unanimity and about the failure to agree amongst themselves. And our well-known N.K. Mikhailovsky laughs heartily over his joke about Marxists real and not real. It is true that complete unanimity does not reign among Marxists. But firstly, Mr. Mikhailovsky represents this fact, and secondly, it demonstrates the strength and the vitality of the Russian social democracy and not its weakness. A particular characteristic feature of the recent periods is that socialists are arriving at various social democratic views by various paths, and for that reason, while unreservedly agreeing on the fundamental and principal thesis that Russia is a bourgeoisie society which has grown out of the feudal system, that its political form is a class state, and that the only way to end the exploitation of the working people is through a class struggle of the proletariat. They differ on many particular programs, both in their methods of the arguments and in the detailed interpretations of this or that phenomenon in Russian life. I can therefore delight Mr. Mikhailovsky in advance by stating that within these limits of the above thesis, which is fundamental and common to all social democrats, differences of opinion exist also on the problems that have been touched upon in these cursory notes. For example, the peasant reform, the economics of peasant farming and the handicrafts industry, land renting, the unanimity of people who content themselves with the unanimous acceptance of lofty truths, such as the peasant reform might open for Russia peaceful paths of proper development. I mean, reform is like a very strong word to call what the Tsar Alexander did. And like, about MLK said something about, he made that quote about peace and justice, like absence of what's that? A quiet peace,
the tranquility of the masses, like
something about how liberals prefer the quiet peace, unjust peace over something. You know what I'm talking about.
Maybe. Hold on.
Like the white, something about peace. Like it's like just like things staying the same, but the mass is not screaming about it. Versus a peace that comes after justice.
Let's see. The white moderate prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to the positive peace, which is the presence of justice.
Yeah, that's kind of the peace they're talking about. The state might call upon the representatives of capital interests, but might call not upon the representatives of capitalist interests, but upon the friends of the people. No, they won't. Okay. the village community might socialize agriculture and manufacturing industry, which might be developed into large-scale production by handicraftsmen. Probably not. I mean, like, individual potters don't have the capacity to make a pottery factory. You know what I mean?
Well, they're individual, so they're like they just do their own thing.
No, I mean, like, yeah. So if you're a poor potter, like, no matter what, like, the capitalist is going to come in and swoop and.
So there was this guy that, like, in LA, he comes on to I do Ash's Comrade Ash on TikTok. She does lives, and I do the.
Oh, I like Ash too. Yeah.
Yeah. So she had one guy come in from LA, and he's like, "Well, I know one guy, and he just wants to, give up he's going to retire, and he asked his workers if they just wanted to take over everything." And then he said that, this guy in LA, and it was probably a sweatshop, because he said, and he told them that they could take a sewing machine with them if they needed to, is what the guy said. And we're like, and he's like, "Well, I don't understand why the workers just didn't take it over." We're like, probably because they didn't have the capital to friggin' run it, or to be able to take over the rents and stuff like that. Like, no one had the credit, you know what I mean, to do it.
Yeah, and it sounds like a sweatshop.
That's what it sounded like to me, because it was in LA, and he said the line,
like Hondurans or something like that. Yeah. I mean, the sweatshop is based on underpaying the worker. So even if the workers take over that sweatshop, everyone's still going to get 10 cents or whatever they're.
Yeah.
Even if it's collectively owned, they're still getting 10 cents.
Yeah. So
because that's the sweatshop model. Okay. Okay. The village community might socialize agriculture and the manufacturing industry, which might, okay. People's land renting supports people's farming. No, it doesn't. This touching and moving unanimity has been replaced by disagreements among persons who are seeking the explanation of Russia's actual present economic organizations as a system of definite production relations for an explanation of her actual economic evolution and her political and all other types of superstructure. And if such work, while leading people to different angles and to the acceptance of the common position, which undoubtedly dictates joint political action and that consequently confer on all who accept it the right and duty to call themselves social democrats, still leaves a wide field for the differences of opinion on a host of particular problems open to various solutions. It merely demonstrates, of course, that the strength and vitality of Russia's social democracy. For the simple reason that no solution of these problems has so far been found. Indeed, you cannot regard a solution of the land renting problem, the assertion that people's land renting supports people's farming, or the following description of the system of cultivating the landlord's land with peasants' implements. The peasant has proved to be stronger than the landlord, who has sacrificed his independence for the benefit of the independent peasant. The peasant has wrested large-scale production from the grasp of the land. Like, I don't know, Mr. Vivi is like confusing landlord using slave labor with, right? Okay. The people are the victors in struggle. This form of agriculture technique. This idle liberal chatter is to be found in The Destiny of Capitalism, the work of our well-known Mr. Vivi. Moreover, it would be hard to imagine anything more difficult than the conditions under which work is being done. There is not, nor can there be, an organ to unite the various aspects of the work in view of the prevailing police conditions. Private intercourse is extremely difficult. By intercourse, he means discussion. It is only natural that social democrats cannot properly discuss and reach agreement on details, that they contradict each other. This is indeed funny, is it not? Mr. Krebenko's references in his polemic against the social democrats to neo-Marxists may cause some perplexity. Some readers may think that something in the nature of a split has taken place among the social democrats, and the neo-Marxists have broken away from the old social democrats. Nothing of that kind. At no time or place has anybody in a public defense of Marxism criticized the theories and program of Russian social democracy or advocated any other kind of Marxism. The fact that Messrs. Kirilenko and Michalowski have been listening to our drawing room gossip about the Marxists have been observing various liberals who use Marxism to cover up their liberal inanity, and with their characteristic cleverness and tact, have set out with a stock in trade to criticize the Marxists. It is not surprising that this criticism consists of a regular chain of absurdities and filthy attacks. To be consistent, argues Mr. Kirilenko, we should give an affirmative answer to this. To the question, should we not strive for the development of capital industry and not shrink from buying up peasants' lands or opening up shops and taverns? From what money? We should rejoice at the success of numerous innkeepers in the Duma and assist still more numerous buyers up of peasants' grain. Like, what money is it? Like, from what money are they? Okay, whatever. Really, that is amusing to tell such friends of people that everywhere in Russia, the exploitation of the working people is by its nature capitalistic, that the enterprising mujik and buyer up should be classed among the representatives of capitalism because of such and such political economic feature, which prove the bourgeoisie character of splitting up of the peasantry. Why he would raise a howl and call it outrageous and heresy and shout out about the indiscriminate borrowing of Western European formulas and abstract schemes, while at the same time most carefully evading the actual meaning of the heretical argument. But when the pictures of the horrors caused by the wicked Marxists have to be painted, lofty science and pure ideals may be left aside, and it may be admitted that buyers up of peasant grains and peasant lands really are representatives of capitalism and not merely hankers after other people's goods. Try and prove this to the friends of people that not only are the Russian bourgeoisie already in control of the people's labor everywhere due to the concentration of the means of production in their hands alone, but they also bring pressure to bear upon the government, initiating and compelling and determining the bourgeois character of its policy. So I can give you like example. For example, under the Tsar, like it was not illegal to like stiff workers' money, but basically any worker strike or union was basically punished equivalent of treason. Yeah. So the Tsar was like the boss is like the father of the company, and you guys are like little kids, and he sounds like Goldacott.
Yeah.
But basically any kind of workers' rebellion was literally punished equivalent to treason against the state.
All right. We did. I mean, there was something almost similar here in a way. You know what I mean? Like, because they were using against the unions, they used like the monopoly, the thing that the Sherman Act, right, against the union. Like they were using like I don't know. They were using the state against the workers for sure.
Well, I mean, obviously, yeah, but there's a difference between, let's say, you can make a union a crime, forming a union a crime, but calling it treason kind of exposes the nature like character. You see, like that's the difference.
Yeah, there's a definite step up. From
yeah. So then, like, but then that ironically made it easier for the Bolsheviks to show that the Tsar is protectorate of the bourgeoisie, because if it's treason to fight for your right as a worker, then the state sucks and needs to be overthrown.
Yeah.
As to the filthy attacks, we have had quite enough of them from Mr. Michalowski, and we get them again from Mr. Kirilenko, who, for example, in his eagerness to annihilate the hated social democracy, relates that some go into factories when, of course, they can get soft jobs or as technicians or office workers when they can't read. Okay, claiming that their sole purpose is to accelerate the capitalist process. There is no need, of course, to reply to such positively indecent statements. Yeah, no one's going to a factory to work like 14 hours a day and get their fingers chopped off and get like lung disease. So there's a really good report by the doctors, like this is not a Bolshevik publication, but this is just like an independent doctors publication of all these diseases that these factory workers are getting from all the chemicals. So basically they're not choosing to go to factories. They can't read, write, and they're 14. They can't be technicians or get office jobs. Keep on in the same spirit, gentlemen. Keep on boldly. The imperialist government, the one which, as you have just told us, has already taken measures, even though they have flaws in them, to save the people from utter ruins, will take measures, this time without any flaws whatever, to save your banality and ignorance from exposure. Culture society will gladly continue hitherto in the intervals between sturgeon patties and the card table to talk about the younger brother and to devise a humane project for improving his condition. Its representatives will be pleased to learn from you that by taking up positions of the Zemsky Nachalniks or other supervisors of the peasant purses, they display a developed conscience of civic requirements and duties. Keep on. You may be certain not only of being left in peace, but even of approval and praise from the lips of Messrs. Burinins. That's basically nobility, the marshal of the nobility. So what do we have? Basically, this is self-evident of liberals all the time, through all of space and time. They think that if you have good people in office, you're gonna get good governance, good, knowledgeable, technical people. And no, you can have like 100. If the system is designed not to, I don't know, what is it? Not to work that way, it doesn't matter how good of a man you get in office. And this is kind of like, that's why he's like, liberals are like, should be Zemstvo Nachalnik, which is like basically like an overseer of peasant oppression. If you have good people who are overseeing peasant oppression, it doesn't change the characteristic of peasant oppression. You need to get rid of peasant oppression itself. And not have a nice overseer of peasant oppression.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like, that's the whole thing with reform, like pushing for reform, just like you're basically saving the capitalist system. You're saving the white supremacist system. You're saving all these systems of oppression by accepting the reform, which is, in the forms of progressive.
Lenin explains when reforms are okay is when it's through the class characteristic. Some reforms are, it's okay to accept reforms, but the way the reforms are won is what determines whether it's like a two-faced reform or an actual improvement.
Yeah, if it's a liberating reform or a
So in 1901, like, Lenin explains all that. What else do liberal? So basically, liberals have never changed and never will change, and
I've been going to Lusardo again with my book club, because I have new people in my book club, so we're doing liberalism again, and it just always pisses me off. But then it gets me into the individualism more, and I get so pissed off at rugged individualism.
Okay, Yipper says reform can't be the end all be all. Reform can't be the end all be all. It can improve conditions under certain conditions. I
don't know. I just like, we've been so like talking about liberals and stuff like on I just remember 5 years ago. I remember words that you said to me. You said, "You're not an anarchist. You will be a Marxist-Leninist." And I said, "Fuck you. You're not my boss," right? Like that's kind of the attitude I gave you, right? So at that time when I started reading Lenin, that's where I started. Like I read some stuff before, but like this is 5 years ago is when I, moved from reading just anarchist theory into moving to Marxist Leninist theory. And there was the questions that, came up were about, regarding why we would need a state. Like basically for me, I'm disabled, and one of the things that I have is asthma, and I need asthma medicine, right?
Yeah.
And it's so silly how the anarchists, like, all it this is what I came to. Oh my god. I said, I'm going to say it here. I haven't said it outside my little friend group, but I said that the anarchists are the Israel of like, they take they say that like Liambach is anarchist. They say Rojava was anarchist. They say the Zapatistas were
Okay,
anarchists.
well, okay, just so you know, Rojava kidnaps child soldiers. So that's
Rojava is no more. There is no more Rojava.
Oh no, they had to rebrand themselves as Syrian Defense Forces because they started kidnapping
They're
too many
trying to
child
get a
soldiers.
seat at the table in the Syrian government. That's what they're trying to do.
No,
right now.
no, they were not kind
That's
of.
what they're doing right now. On
They
the executive board, the chairwoman has been trying to get a seat in the Syrian government right now.
Okay, disgusting. Yeah, the Syrian government. Okay. Oh, by the way, Yipper, can you show the minimum wage? And yeah, I actually have a critique on that. Okay, so no, because the fight for 15 has been going on since 2012, and they are like useless. So the Russian Social Democratic Party started in 1901, and by 1917 they had a revolution. So they have about 3 years left. And 15 from 2012 is like 30 now or something. There's
It's ridiculous. Like in Massachusetts, I'd say that you'd have to make at least 32, 33 an hour.
Yeah, right, and they are utterly useless because they're using the tactics from the civil rights era when the Soviet Union was around, and they cared. And it's like, they're. I have so many problems.
I don't think that we are strong enough to get anything for labor, like in that sense. Like maybe the nurses unions can get stuff. Like maybe the unions.
I mean, the problem is with the unions themselves, who kind of the way the union boss, like they themselves are kind of like company unions, like the Zubatov unions. Yeah. The unions have like have basically cut shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, they basically go with the, they compromise in favor of the company
all the time. Yes. Yeah, so the problem is with the structure of the union themselves. No, I mean, and labor is much more fragmented, but it is possible, I hope, but not until not until like the dollar hegemony gets really not until like the dollar hegemony goes away and everything and since the US deindustrialized itself, like when people can't afford washing machines, that's when the problem will come. So it's about 5 to 10, 15 years away, because right now Trump, if he ends up like stealing Venezuela's assets, basically it's going to tell everyone to dump their dollar assets and switch to somebody they can trust, like China, Russia, India, whatever other kind of currency. And so the de-dollarization is just going to get accelerated. And so the U.S. has the strong import capacity because of that dollar hegemony. Yeah. And if the dollar becomes worthless, then workers just are going to go into third world level. So that's when it'll really hit them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hit. I'm going to say it's hitting people.
It's hitting people, but not at the large enough scale for them to understand there's a problem.
Yeah. But then I will say what happened with them, with Trump and Maduro, that even the AFL-CIO came out and condemned it and stuff like that. So
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
pretty new for AFL-CIO.
yeah, they said they stand with the international workers, and so they're condemning it.
It's when?
They said that I think yesterday. Hold on.
Is that
January
true?
3rd at 2:51 p.m. There was a tweet. They said we join the international labor
Whoa.
community condemning President Trump's unconstitutional actions in Venezuela.
Unconstitutional. Oh, God, okay, bastards. Okay. AFL-CIO collaborated, like they like helped do coups in Chile and all over the third world. But
Oh yeah,
okay, yeah. Okay, this is interesting that they have joined.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm almost done with my Maduro article, my article about the joke of an indictment, and how it's different from the Noriega case, because with Noriega, Bush was very careful to charge things that were not Noriega's action as president, but also the CIA had shitloads of documents on Noriega because he was their asset for a while, and like all the bribing and the drug dealing was what he did for the CIA. And then he started working for the people and started to thump his nose at the CIA, and that's when they're like, "Oh no, he's evil. We need to go and overthrow him." And they destroyed the Panama State.
Yeah.
But that's different because with Maduro, it's just a lot of vibes and vibes.
There's no proof of.
No.
It didn't happen. There's no proof of anything.
It can't happen. And Gustavo Petro was like, yeah, we looked through Colombian records and none of this is true. And I could give like a quick preview of my. Well,
Yeah.
actually, let me talk about my article. Why not?
Did you know that the wife was like beat up?
Yes, I know that. Celia Flores. Okay, let me just talk about my article that I will publish once I get my visuals ready. So the first thing is that they like in the very first paragraph of the. Wait, how do I share?
Oh, do I have to give you permission? You want to just? I don't know. You don't have to turn them on? Okay.
Okay. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Okay. So, they have to establish that he's not the leader of Venezuela, or else sovereign immunity takes into account. But in the very second paragraph, look at what the idiot admits to. De facto ruler, which then undermines the Noriega doctrine.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, he admits that he is the ruler, and sovereign immunity says you can't you can't prosecute them. So I mean, the one thing is that they can say, hey, we don't recognize Maduro as the legitimate president, but we actually recognize Juan Guaido or whoever. But then the problem is the prosecutor just admitted that he sits on top of a government, regardless of whether it's illegitimate or legitimate. Okay, so that's the first idiocy.
Can I just bring up what Yipper responded to the 15th? Yipper just said, "Oh, I meant how liberals will frame the 15 as the progress. So when we do get the 15, they'll be like, see, we got the 15." That's
yeah, they were like, they seemed to like how they were calling Joe Biden's presidency the most progressive since FDR, and I'm like, no, Nixon was more progressive than you are. Okay. So let's see, any other dumbness. I'm writing this article, but let's see. Again, don't admit this. Okay. Okay. And then let's see. I have a really detailed thing. let's see. They actually have a national security interest in FARC, but that's another story. Illegal activity. Let's see.
I mean,
Where
they missed the
yeah.
he-
Okay. So this is a really funny thing. Diplomatic immunity is so vast that a diplomat can shoot somebody in Fifth Avenue with 100 cameras and you can't do shit about it. The only thing you can do is expel him from the country, and that's it. So, like, I don't even know why he's put whatever he did as a diplomat. It's covered under diplomatic immunity, and you can't touch it. And so yeah, so this guy was like basically a corporate. I'll stop sharing. How do I stop sharing? So this guy, it's about 5 pages. Actually, show Yipper's comment about the VP of Venezuela. No, the Supreme Court of Venezuela did something brilliant. They affirmed that Venezuela, Maduro is still the leader, and she is only a temporary president until he comes back. So he's still the leader of Venezuela, and so it's kind of like him having an extended case of chickenpox. So the Supreme Court of Venezuela did something brilliant with that. And that's where Trump went wrong, is he believed his own farts, where he's like, Maduro's an absolute dictator, and if we just get rid of him, everyone's going to vote for Guaido and cheer for freedom. But no, Venezuela is probably one of the most democratic countries on earth. Like, at every level, there is like citizen democracy. And so getting rid of the leader didn't do shit. And now Trump is like, we're controlling their oil, and wants these oil companies to bid. And it's like, yeah, Venezuela is not gonna let you. Trump is wish casting. That's the best way to say it.
I have a little of a conspiracy that I think that because like Machado wasn't popular enough, so Trump was like, Machado, she's not popular enough, so we'll just go with the VP or whatever. And it's all because Trump is still pissed at Machado for winning the Nobel Peace Prize.
That's not the comparison. No, but Machado's not. He's right. Machado, no one wants her. Like, they're gonna spit at her. But that's not it. Okay, so he is not stupid enough to pretend that Machado is the interim.
Yeah.
Even if they swear her in, like, she's not even allowed inside Venezuela, probably, from what I gather. So he's pretending that Delcy Rodriguez is
working with them,
but she's not.
Yeah.
No. Hold on. Show Yipper's. It's not that they didn't think things through. They just smelled their own farts. Like, if you have a team of gusanos like Narco Rubio and stuff, and then they tell Maduro is a dictator and Venezuela has no defense and blah blah blah. They believed that, and Bush Senior didn't believe his own propaganda about Panama, and that's why they destroyed Panama completely and killed all the black people. Like, it was just horrible what they did to Panama.
It was.
First of all, Trump is not able to do that to Venezuela because Venezuela has better defenses than Panama ever did. So, yeah.
Did you know that it had, like, when they took Noriega, it was January 3rd? 26 years ago on January 3rd. They took
89
or 90. It was 1990, yeah. And it was they took Maduro on January 3rd, and I
wonder if they thought they were okay. Well, that's the thing, is that so Trump might have been trying to do the same thing.
That's what I'm thinking.
But
you go back and watch, like, Max talked about this like 3 months ago before any of this was that, like, and he's like, this is, and he brought up Noriega, and he was like saying like exactly what they did, and I'm just like, I think they were just trying to take that plan and do the same.
Yeah, except here, okay, with the Noriega case, they basically excluded his conduct as president and only included private conduct. But here, everything is that Maduro is doing is on behalf of the state.
Yeah.
So this is basically asking the U.S. jury to become like the Supreme Court of Venezuela. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. So he's dumb enough to think yeah. So basically, they thought once Maduro's gone, the whole state structure will collapse, but nothing's collapsed there. Everything's running just the way it is. And now they're arming the citizens and creating revolutionary militias. So every fisherman will be out looking at U.S. naval boats, and it's going to be much harder. And so even with Maduro temporarily gone, I wonder if there's and Colombia, Gustavo Petro just said, we don't have a single document about Maduro. Go fuck yourself.
Oh, did you see the New York Times report that Trump thought, because Maduro dances too, like a lot of times when he's giving speeches, that Trump thought that Maduro was mocking him. And like that was said, like two people came forward and said that he was talking about that when they were doing this plan a couple of months ago about how Maduro's mocking him dancing.
Okay. Oh my God. Then they better not. Oh my God. Okay. They don't understand Latino culture and
no.
Oh my God. And okay, I hope Claudia Scheinbaum never does the salsa.
She better never dance. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I really, she would. Oh my God, and no more samba dancing.
Dancing.
So, that's just ridiculous. But I hope they realize that two can play this game, because international law isn't really international law. It's like, I give you this courtesy, you give me this. And are they sure they want every third world country storming into the U.S. embassy and then arresting all the diplomats there? Because all of them are violating multiple laws in every single country.
They set a precedent. So
I mean, two can play this game. Yeah. So that's the thing. And that's like the only thing that's with international law is quid pro quo. I will protect your sovereign immunity, and you would and every U.S. president. Do they really want to play that game? Maybe they do.
I don't know. I think that they think. I don't know.
They are. They're obsessing about Venezuela means like the Sahel region in Africa is not a colony anymore. Like they're coming back home, closer to home for colonization.
Yeah. Well, they want, like, Trump thinks he owns the Western Hemisphere. I mean, he talks about they already put out like a tweet with an American flag over Greenland. That was Pam Bondi shared that tweet.
Okay, well, Greenland. I don't really. Whatever.
I know, but I mean, he thinks that he owns all of the Western Hemisphere.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's not different than the Monroe Doctrine, and every president.
Yeah, that's
But he's just like doing it bolder. But that's not the problem. The problem is that he is obsessing over the Western Hemisphere because their imperial profits have been cut off in the Sahel region, and they can't control Asia like they used to. So now the empire is shrinking, and it's shrinking closer to home, but it's being more monstrous closer to home.
Yeah, definitely. In some ways. Okay. I mean, it was pretty monstrous. Away from home at times, but like, So.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess with that, see you guys next week.
All right.
And check out my upcoming article and all my Chomsky critiques.
Yeah, I'll have a episode of from Collective. We did Boys Club. We did it. I don't know. Do you know who Madeline Pendleton is?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so we did it with her on Venezuela. So that will be out Friday. So.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.